back to another episode where we discuss recent developments in aviation, especially in international aviation. We have looked towards the Russian situation, the situation between Russia and Ukraine, and quite a lot of things are coming out of that space in respect of aviation, global aviation. The recent thing to happen was that EASA revoked the certificates of a number of aircraft that are Russian-made. Remember, this follows, global sanctions that have been imposed upon Russia and anything Russian over the past few weeks. The first batch of sanctions was basically to impose sanctions on exports to and from Russia. That is, the exports of goods and technology and technical assistance, where Russia would necessarily be the beneficiary of that particular trade. So the second ban was the ban of particular aircraft, particular carriers from the European airspace. The first country to do this was Bermuda. You'd ask yourself, who is Bermuda? A cluster of tiny little islands that were once colonized by Britain. Today they call them the British Overseas Territories. But basically it's another sanitized word for a colonized territory called Bermuda that remains a part of the, whatever extension, part of the UK. So because over 900 aircraft are registered in Bermuda, over 900 Russian aircraft are registered in Bermuda, this was a blow to Russia in a way, because they could no longer fly in the Bermudan airspace, they could no longer fly in the UK airspace. But that initial ban was targeted at specific carriers. Now, the most involved carrier there was Aeroflot, which is the Russian flag carrier. So it did not necessarily ban everything Russian-made, but it banned just Aeroflot aircraft from flying within the Bermudan airspace. Soon thereafter, the UK followed. Soon thereafter, Canada followed. Soon thereafter, EASA, that is the European Union Aviation Safety Agency, EASA. So EASA's sanctions were basically to ban Aeroflot from the from the European airspace. But the current ban we're talking about, which is the latest ban from EASA, is a ban of Russian-made aircraft, certain listed Russian-made aircraft. Quite a number of them are listed there, and they can no longer fly in the European airspace. So that's a large geographic area they cannot fly over. And the aim there is to cripple the Russians in order for them to perhaps begin to bow down to what the West is demanding in respect of their participation in the Ukraine-Russia conflict. One of the affected jets there is the Sukhoi SSJ100, which is a Russian-made aircraft. What does this mean? It means that for all Russian aircrafts where the certificates had already been issued by EASA, attesting to their safety, attesting to their readiness to operate and not necessarily affect aviation safety and aviation security, that certificate will no longer be applicable, meaning the aircraft is essentially grounded in as far as Russian airspace, and in as far as European airspace is concerned. The second thing they've done is that they've suspended the submission of new applications, that is, applications for new certificates to be issued by EASA. So all aircrafts that were supposed to have these certificates issued because an application has been made will no longer have those. So those that already had it, certificates are revoked. Those that were in the process of applications, no new application will be attended to. And those that are already in the process of application, that has already been abandoned by EASA as a means of putting pressure on Russia in the ongoing situation. So many questions arise here, because the Sukhoi SSJ100 is not the only one to be affected. Even though the CR929 is not necessarily listed in the latest iteration of European Union or EASA sanctions. This raises a lot of questions, because remember, the CR929 was basically a collaboration between Russia and China, and the aim there was to defeat, or rather cripple or challenge, the duopoly that Boeing and Airbus have over the commercial aircraft production industry. So the CR929 was basically aimed at becoming a competition for the Airbus A350 and becoming competition for the Dreamliner that is the Boeing 787. It remains to be seen how these ongoing sanctions that are being imposed day in, day out, how those sanctions will actually affect the Chinese-Russian attempts to defeat the duopoly. We can only know what will happen there by observing the situation as it unfolds, because it's quite a fluid situation. So many things are happening. You go to sleep with one set of sanctions, you wake up with a different set of sanctions having been imposed, as states continue to try and play the game of international relations, the game of international trade. Because at the end of the day, this is all about the economy. It's all about international trade. What drives them is the economic side of things. They want, dominance economically. So states will then play with each other at the international level, using international relations, using international law, because at the end of it all, the end game is to be in control economically. Because if your economy is dominant, then we're basically running the show. So let's watch and see what happens in the ongoing sanctions saga involving Russian-made aircraft. And do not forget to subscribe. I know that many of you do subscribe, and you've been sharing these videos with other like-minded aviators in the field. We appreciate that. We've grown now. We've gone past the 1,000 subscriber mark. Our next aim is the 10,000 subscriber mark, and we can only embark on that journey and get to our destination if you continue to support us. We appreciate what you've done for us so far. The team at Flying Juries really appreciate your efforts. We are going to grow because you are standing with us. Remember that with every hour the cockpit beckons. Whatever hour it is that you have, however you decide to spend that hour, just remember that every little hour adds to you getting towards your goal. You can only reach the apex if you continue to be disciplined, you continue to ensure that every hour that you cross off your diary goes to something big, goes to something meaningful towards advancement of your particular goal. Until next time, enjoy the signing out. Cheers.